Aloha, welcome back guys. This is Ukulele FPV and this video is actually sponsored by FXT technology. Hopefully you can see it there on the container. They were kind enough to send me a couple things for review. Here we have the FXT T80, which is a little CMOS camera, much like the one that I have installed here in my little ELF. And they sent along with it the FX808t, which is a micro video transmitter. It is 200 milliwatts. So I'm going to open those, we're going to check them out, and then we're going to do a little testing with them. And hopefully we'll get some flight footage comparison with this little 600 TVL CMOS camera compared to the T80. So here we have the T80. If I can get it open. The T80 is a small, little tiny CMOS camera. You can see it here compared to my finger. Right here we have, it only takes from 5.5 volts to 3.5 volts, I believe. Yeah, 3.5 to 5.5 volts. So this can be run on a 1S battery or a 5 volt back. Then it has a few features that most CMOS cameras do not. It has a 800 TVL. So instead of 600 like this one, or 700 like some of the other ones that are very similar, it is 800 TVL. It has wide dynamic range, so it should do better in harsh lighting conditions. It has an integrated OSD that has the time on and the voltage in. So you see this little wire right here in the middle. This little wire can be connected to up to a 6S battery, I believe, 36 volts, and it will read the voltage all the way up to there. And something that is very different compared to a lot of other cameras is that it has this extra piece right here, and this is for an OSD, control the OSD, so you can change the camera settings in there. And sadly enough, it does not come with one of these little OSD controllers, but I am so grateful for one of the local flyers around here. I don't have any of these. He actually gave me a couple of them so that I could do this review. So thank you, and I will link your YouTube down in the description so that people can check you out. He does some really great flying around here in Hawaii. So we got this, and now we're going to take a look at the FX808t, the micro video transmitter. So it comes in this little nice plastic box, bubble wrap, the instructions here. So it says 200 milliwatt VTX. It has, let's see, 48 channels, I believe, in 6 bands. It is very small. They say that it weighs 2.4 grams. As for the camera, I'm not sure how much it weighs. I do not have a scale at the moment, so hopefully I can get that information. I will put it up here, what they say the camera weighs. And then it has a UFL. Well, it says it has a UFL antenna connector, but on mine it is just soldered on there directly. It would be nice to have a UFL, but that was not included on mine. It has a 5 volt out, so you can power this camera directly from it. And it also has a power off memory, so it'll stay on the channel that you want it. Then down here are a few of the specs. It works for NTSC and PAL. It has the frequency range, input voltage. So the input voltage here is really large. It actually goes from 7 volts to 20 volts. So you would have to power this directly from a 2S battery or higher in order for it to run. So these micros, I'll be powering it directly from my 2S. Hopefully that shouldn't be a problem with sag, but we'll find out later. And it is nice because it comes with a little connector right here that connects directly to the camera. So let's check that out. So in here, it comes like this. There's a little power connector here. If this comes off, that's a spare one. That's nice. And then, as you can see, this thing is tiny. This thing is really small. I really like it. I might have another one around here I can show you. Let's see. So just for comparison, this is the Eachine VTX 01. It's just 25 milliwatt power. It was on my Tiny Whoop, as you saw in the build. But look at this thing right next to it. It's about the same size, I guess. But just because they don't have this little tab up there and they have it over here, it makes it seem even smaller and more compact. So this thing is great. The camera has a plug that fits directly into it, so these go great together. If you have a little micro build that you want to be able to fly pretty decently, it just plugs right in right there. There's LEDs here to see the channels, and I am not exactly sure how that is going to work, so we will have to plug it in and find out. Then you just give this power and put this on your battery so that you can get your OSD. So let's hook it up and see what we can do. So I guess we don't need that one first. We can use the batteries first. Here I have two 1S batteries, and I made a little series to make it into a 2S just so that it'll run. You connect this into the 7 volts to 20 volts in, and then we power it using our batteries. So once powered, this is what it looks like. There's a little red LED on the left side and then blue. If I press it once, the red disappeared. So I'm guessing that is changing it. That twinkle once means that it's changing the band. So I'm not sure which band it is on right now, but every time I press it, it is changing the band. And then to change the frequency, I press and hold it for 2 seconds, and it'll change. So to change the frequency, it's a little painful, and it takes a while because you have to press and hold it for 2 seconds. But changing the band is simple and easy, so that's nice. And right now the camera is powered, so let's switch over to the DVR so that I can show you guys what it looks like, and we will go over the OSD. Here's my little joystick, and I can just plug it in here, and here we go. So as you can see here, when we power it up, it shows the company, FXT Technology, and you can see down at the bottom left corner we have the on time, and on the bottom right corner we have the voltage in. I have that wired up to a 2S battery, so you can see that the 2S battery voltage reading is there. As we go into the menu, you can see that we can turn the timer on and off, and we can switch the positions. If you're in PAL, you have 4 positions: P1, P2, P3, and P4. P1 is at the very bottom, P4 is at the very top. 2 and 3 are in between. If you're in NTSC, there's only 2 through 4. For exposure, we can change it. I have it changed from stock already. It seemed a little washed out, so I lowered the exposure. It started off at 9. As you can see here, it is a little washed out and a little bright. So I moved it down so that it isn't so bright and washed out. And then we have backlight compensation here that you can turn on or off. The camera itself has a wide dynamic range enabled at all times, so the shadows and harsh lighting, it works really well in that. Here we can change if it's color or black and white. We could also change the color gain, so if we want it to be more bright and vivid, and change the saturation of what we actually see. And then we can mirror it. So originally it is on none and the wires are at the top of the camera, but you can flip it horizontally, vertically, or horizontally and vertically, which I do because I like having my wires at the bottom. We can switch it from PAL to NTSC, and the image scale here is changeable, so it can be 16:9 or it can be 4:3. They have something in the software that does that. Because I am on a box goggle with 16:9 screen, it is better to use that. As you see, it stretches out 4:3 quite a bit. You can see this little vase right there, it stretches it out. And then it is in English or in Chinese. And then to save your settings, you just go down save and exit. We can also do a factory reset if we want to go back to the stock settings. As you can see here, the light handling does pretty well. You can see everything nice and bright and clear. The camera itself has a 115 degree, so I think that's a 2.1 millimeter camera lens, and it is M8, so if you need to switch that out. Anyway, that is that. Let's go get some flight footage and see how it does. So as you can see here, we have the 600 TVL versus the T80 stock. The light handling seems to be much better for the T80 with the stock. You can definitely see it around here when you turn this corner. When it goes into the bright lights, it adjusts to the lighting a lot better than the 600 TVL camera does. Next, I'm going to show you a little bit about my settings. I changed the settings so the exposure is 5 and the color gain is 7 because the camera seems a little bit washed out, and it seemed to improve it a little bit. I will again show you the little turn over here with the tree, and you can see that with the adjusted colors it doesn't wash out as much and you can see it a lot more clearly. Hopefully I'll be able to mess around with the settings and find what I think fits best. So in conclusion, the camera is really nice. I really enjoy the way that it handles lighting and that it is adjustable. It is a little bit expensive, about $23, kind of like the Runcam Nano. And I think it is a good contender for it. I wish I had a Runcam Nano that I could test against it, but eventually I will be able to do that. The FX808t, it's a really well made 200 milliwatt VTX. I was able to get some great reception with my goggles. I added a little bit of heat shrink here just to strengthen it. It was a little bit just out there. I plan on trying to replace this right here with the UFL connector so that I can switch it out and maybe make this a little bit longer. Other than that, I believe it's a fantastic camera if you're trying to build a little micro 2-inch or any of that. It is great because you can switch from 16:9 to 4:3 depending on what goggles you use, and it really works well with different lighting. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's been fun having you, and I hope to see you again in my next review. Please like and subscribe. Aloha.